Saddam Hussein must disarm himself, or for the sake of peace, we will lead a coalition to disarm him. Regime change in Iraq is the only certain means of removing a great danger to our nation.
The road home was through Baghdad.
This had to be a swift victory.
We did make it fast, and we have made it final.
This air component that went to war was probably the most lethal we have seen in history.
We brought an unbelievably asymmetric set of activities against the Iraqi military.
We hit the strategic targets, we hit them hard. They knew they had to keep moving or they would be destroyed.
We got into the business of not shaping or conditioning, we got into the business of killing them.
Good morning, everybody. As we've been reporting, the U.S. fired the opening salvo in the war on Iraq, a surgical strike of 40 Tomahawk cruise missiles and precision-guided bombs. They were aimed at Saddam Hussein and his inner circle.
We had reasonable, actionable intel that we had some key leadership inside a facility in Iraq.
The President okayed the mission after the intelligence through the day became stronger and stronger that we had located Saddam Hussein.
We scrambled a pair of 117, supported by T-LAMs and some other support aircraft, to go up and strike into the heart of the air defenses.
It was a blow directly to the chin in the first second of the very first round of this battle, and it put the senior leadership of the Iraqi regime on their heels.
The Iraqis never really were able to command and control their forces in any semblance of a highly effective manner.
On 21st of March, we kicked off the heavier air campaign.
We dropped approximately 3 times the number of weapons that were dropped in all of Desert Storm in the Baghdad area on that night.
General Franks was very adamant about being aggressive and taking the fight to the enemy. His point was, I want you to be violent, I want you to engage with overwhelming force at a time and place of your choosing.
We brought an unbelievably asymmetric set of activities against the Iraqi military. We were able to lay on them with 1,000 strike sorties a day.
We hit the strategic targets, we hit them hard, going after the regime directly. Not the Iraqi people, of course, but the leadership targets, the Ba'ath Party headquarters, the Republican Guards, and the ground units.
We got into the business of not shaping or conditioning, we got into the business of killing them.
We have entered the era of mass precision. We have the ability to put more precise firepower on the enemy than any time in world history.
Combine that with J-STARS, with the satellites, with the KAOC, with Global Hawk, with Predator.
The intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platforms that could map out where the forces were so that we could strike them in all weather.
You have to be able to see things, you have to be able to fix targets, you have to be able to look at the defenses around the targets, and you have to be able to provide all of that to an Air Operations Center to assess that information and then to provide that back out in an air tasking order.
Hundreds of aircraft were retasked. En route to targets, we were able to reach them, send them digital data, and any opportunity that the Iraqi ground forces had to mass an attack could literally be snuffed out in a matter of hours.
More action over Baghdad. Still shooting at us, so we've got a fight left.
Air power was integrated with the ground war from the start.
From strategic attack to interdiction to close air support, and I believe we did all of those in a very effective way.
The one thing we never lost focus on was support to the land component.
Over half of the sorties were in support of the soldier on the ground.
This was a tremendous joint combined campaign.
We brought in a very senior group of people to execute 1003 Victor. We had a very, very combat experienced group.
We set this KAOC up with some of the lessons that we learned in Afghanistan, so we were able to go from the early days of Operation Enduring Freedom with a little over 600 people to a proper manning and organizational level of close to 2,000 people, all feeding information into the decision process in the KAOC.
This air component that went to war was probably the most lethal we have seen in history.
The mobility piece of a SINKS plan is the predicate to a success, because you have to be able to move the forces before you can fight. Once you get the forces in theater, you still have a requirement to sustain them. You still have to move items inside the theater.
Along with the rapid advance came setting up of dirt strips, the taking over of Iraqi airfields so that we could airlift support directly to the ground component.
We were sent here as a Tausi package, tanker airlift control element. Initially, no one was here until we got here. 2 hours after we hit the ground, we started downloading C-130 Hercules. We come with a full complement of folks to run an operation.
Roger that, that's affirmative.
What we bring in, we can sustain ourselves for almost close to 30 days.
Airlift enabled the insertion of different forces. The insertion of the 173rd Airborne Brigade out of Italy was an example where we got our C-17s involved.
It's the largest airdrop that we in the Army have conducted since Panama.
Our plan is about 200,000 pounds of equipment, which will give the brigade a company-sized vehicle capability along with 1,000 paratroopers on the ground tonight.
I would say a secondary key to success in this are tankers.
This was an extremely gas-dependent war when you look at the distances involved to get the fighters and bombers and ISR assets to their targets.
For us to be able to go to Baghdad and beyond, we had to push the tankers into the airspace.
And this was prior to us making those skies safe.
The tankers moved forward and they were shot at. And that enabled us to get more fighters forward towards Baghdad and give even better and more robust support to the Army.
It is critical to have the mobility piece squared away up front.
We need to support the Iraqi people by delivering humanitarian aid wherever needed.
We're supporting the humanitarian assistance in Iraq by moving potable water, food, pharmaceuticals, shelter, comm gear. The schools are open, the utilities are being turned back on, the water's beginning to flow, the electricity is coming back, hospitals are open, clinics are open.
We'll go on with the help of the American people. And I should think we will re-stand on our feet.
Not just because of us, but in partnership with the Iraqis themselves. They now have a life and they now have a future that's much brighter than it was. I think the keys to success in Operation Iraqi Freedom were the performance of our people.
The troops in Iraqi Freedom performed brilliantly.
It's not the F-15C or the F-22, it's the lieutenant or it's the captain or the major, and it's the tech sergeant, it's the master sergeant, and it's the staff sergeant that counts. Those are the keys to success.
Operation Iraqi Freedom was carried out with a combination of precision and speed and boldness the enemy did not expect and the world had not seen before. Our nation and our coalition are proud of this accomplishment. When I look at the members of the United States military, I see the best of our country, and I'm honored to be your Commander-in-Chief. America is grateful for a job well done.